explaining domain amplification in Jujutsu Kaisen. And shout out to Chris for asking me this. I get this question a lot, and it totally makes sense because this is one of the more confusing things in JJK. There are so many domain-esque named things that it's easy to get confused, and it's easy to wonder, like, what's the point of this one versus that one? So let's break it down. So to begin, I think to help people best understand, we should look at the word itself, domain amplification. Now, English speakers, when we think of the word amplification, we think of like getting stronger, getting buffed, getting amped up, right? But if we look at the literal translation from Japanese, the word is ryoki tenin, and tenin in Japanese means envelopment. So a better way to conceptualize this would be to think of it as domain envelopment. So now when I say domain envelopment, what does that evoke in your mind? Hopefully it evokes a domain that envelops you, right? So think of it like a domain spacesuit, like it's a domain that literally conforms to your body that you can move around in. For example, here we have Jogo and Hanami using domain amplification, and as you can see, they are moving, they're fighting, and this domain amplification is moving with them because it is enveloping them. Now, why are they doing this? What does this do? To answer this, let's first quickly examine the purpose of barriers and domains in JJK in general. So for example, a simple domain is a barrier that's been imbued with a whole bunch of things, honestly. Simple domains are very versatile. I don't want to get lost on that right now, but they're imbued with certain conditions or binding vows to serve a purpose. Or in the case of domain expansions, those are barriers imbued with your curse technique. So what is imbued in a domain amplification? Well, nothing. And that, my friends, is the whole point. A domain amplification is a barrier with nothing imbued into it. Let's call it empty. And what does something that's empty want? It wants to be full. So when this empty barrier comes into contact with something that can fill it, it will. And what can fill this barrier? A curse technique. So when this amplification comes into contact with Gojo's curse technique, in this case, the limitless, it will absorb it or essentially negate it, therefore allowing Jogo or Hanami, whoever's using it, to bypass the infinity and effectively hit Gojo. So now let's distill all of that down into a simple statement. Domain amplification can allow you to neutralize a curse technique. Emphasis on the word can, because just like we saw in this scene, they don't actually hit Gojo here, and that's because amplification does not always trump curse technique. It's a battle. If Gojo ups the output of his limitless, he can win that tug of war against the amplification. And this exact concept is what was showcased during Gojo and Hanami's staring contest. Gojo just kept amping his limitless until Hanami was sawdust. Now you might be saying, even though it's not a guaranteed neutralization of the curse technique, that's still really good. So why is everyone not doing this all of the time? And there's two reasons. So one, this is hard to do. We've only seen very skilled or powerful sorcerers use this to begin with. But on top of that, you can't use your own curse technique whilst using domain amplification. So if you're resorting this to neutralize your opponent's curse technique, all you've got is your hands. All you've got is physical combat. You can't use your innate technique.